Hey free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. So for today, there will be no content apart from this, right? So this will be the content for today. And the reason why I want to do this is because I just want to talk a little bit more about what Dislyte needs to do moving forward. Yeah, very typical content creator stuff, right? But I do feel like this is something that really needs to be discussed. This is really something that they really need to understand that they might need to reflect upon in order for them to recover from the pit that we are currently in. No, I am not bashing the game at all. I'm not bashing a company at all. They have to do whatever they need to do in order to survive, right? And they need to earn money as well. And this is also part of the reason why I'm doing this, because you guys know that I am a full-time working adult. I am not a YouTuber. I just happen to have 18,000 subscribers. I have no idea why. But this is also a very important part of my life, running a YouTube channel and making sure that I'm making content for people and not a dead audience. So the thing is, it is also in my own personal interest to ensure that the game survives in order for me to continue producing content. So I just want you guys to understand that there are some personal interests over here, which is why I need this video to go out, and which is also why I need Lilith Games to pick up their slack ASAP. So previously, I have showcased an image very similar to whatever that you're seeing on the screen right here. So previously in the Q&A video, I think the number here wasn't 21.8. I believe it was 22 or 23. I'm not actually very sure. But the game is slowly dying, and I'm actually being very conservative about the word slowly, because in the past 1 month itself, we have lost about 31% of our players in just one single month. And mind you, we are not even in our first month of the game. We are currently in the 4th month of global launch. So usually games like this start to slow down their growth at about the 2 or 3 month mark. So it's usually the first month where they lose like 50% or more of their players, right? Which is something that Dislyte had at the start, yeah. We lost about 50 to 60% of our players within the first month. And don't pay too much attention to the numbers here, because these are just Samsung users, right? So I am a Samsung user, that's why there are currently about 22,000 of us in the world right now. So I'm not just trying to latch on to the recent problems that Dislyte has. I am actually talking more about the longevity of the game and just addressing all of the concerns that I have with respect to the game so far. So I do have a few pointers, right? And we will talk about all of them over here. So number one, the SSM is a predatory concept. Now the thing is, I call it SSM. I don't call it by its full name, and the reason is because not that it's easier, but because I just do not even remember what it's called. And the reason why I do not remember what it's called is because, look at point number one. It's a currency that numbs the gamer's perspective of what their expenses truly are by adding more levels of currencies. So the thing is, this is not meant to be something that you would think of immediately and like, oh yes, I know exactly what that is. It's supposed to confuse you, to make things so obscure that you do not even know how much you're spending, or at least you do not know how much more you need to spend in order to obtain, let's say, the PT Esper. So they hide it behind a facade that you only need 160 summons. But how do you get SSM? It's impossible for you to get SSM. You cannot even buy it from the shop. Yes, you can buy it from some of the event packs, but apart from the event packs, how else can you get SSM right now? And that leads me to the second point, which is the rebate event only lasts for 7 days, which forces people to feel like they need to buy packs before losing all of their options. So the thing is, if you have already purchased all of the event packs and you have gotten all the SSM that you could possibly get from the store, then your only option left is to buy Nexus crystals and use that Nexus crystal to convert it into gold records, which is then converted into an SSM at a rate of 10:1. So if you're wondering why this rebate event only lasts for 7 days, it's to give urgency to every other player in the game. And if they get rid of the 7 days limit over here, then people will be like, oh, I don't need to spend right now, I can think about it. And most of the time, if you let people think about it, they are not going to buy the pack. So that's the reason why they have introduced this 7 days limit to this banner. Now the next point is that they are overcomplicating a banner concept. Why do you need to have 2 different banners? Why don't just stick to one banner? If that is truly your goal, improve the rates. And if your goal is to make the PT count smaller, reduce the PT count smaller. Why do you need a separate banner? Why do you need to confuse your player base as to how generous you are? You do not need to do so. If you want to show your generosity, do it legitimately and easy and less confusing for your players. And now the fourth point, there is a 1600 PT for the banner Esper. Yes, you try to hide it behind 160 PT, calling it like, oh wow, this is such an easy way for you to obtain the banner Esper now, hooray. No, you need 1600 summons to PT on the current banner. Yes, I know in the future you may not need 1600 anymore, but if you refer to my previous video, I have actually calculated that you need about 4 months plus to PT a current Esper. So it's not as if the rates are improved at all. And the way I calculated 4 months is by really maximizing all the potential rewards that you can get. So if you were a more casual player, you might even need upwards of 6 months just to PT on the banner. So it's not actually better for the players. And finally, the fifth point here is that there is no PT on the Go Records banner. I do not know why you decided to opt out on the PT for the Go Record banner. I feel like you should have just included it because this is a new concept and you need ways to tide people over. You need ways to transition people from having the previous banner into the current banner, especially since so many people have saved up 450 summons. And honestly, these people who had the stomach to save up 450 summons and you're just going to take it away from them like that, I feel like that's really, really unfair. Alright, so now moving on to the next point. 16th floor Ritual Miracles. Now, I know I was a little bit excited about this previously, but there were some things that screamed out at me. Okay, so the first point is this. There is a 100% 6-star relic drop rate, which translates into a shorter lifespan. So, point 1 and point 2 is about the same, right? So, it took Summoner's War literally years before implementing this system of a 100% 6-star drop rate. And someone actually mentioned that it took them 6 years before implementing this system, and yet we are getting this on the 4th month of the game's life. Now, a lot of you casuals will be thinking that, oh, isn't it really good? They are making it easier for you to farm relics. Yeah, you're not wrong. It is easy to farm relics, but the thing is now it's way too easy, and it's so easy for you to cap out all of your relics right now. If you think about it, the difference between a 100% 6-star relic drop rate versus what we have right now, it's probably 2 times easier for you to obtain your ideal relic right now. 2 times. So if you think about it that way, we are potentially having more than a relic event every single day after this drops. So that's how dangerous it can be, and especially since this is a game that revolves around PvP, if you lose out on this, you're going to lose out a lot. Now the third point, this along with Dislyte Lands widen the newbie gap by a very large amount, and new players will be very unlikely to join. And then there is the beta merger in the future as well, which is something that we have to address, okay? It's the elephant in the room right now. So this Dislyte Lands, and if you're talking about Summoner's War, it also dropped about maybe 1 or 2 years after the game actually launched, which is a long time. Now this content dropped at the most untimely of times. When new players were starting to get into the game and they were starting to enjoy the game for what it is, you're already giving an opportunity to your whales and beta players to invest further into their relics to make themselves so much exponentially stronger, to the point where this should have introduced more players into the game, but what it did is only to lose more players. And now finally, fleshing out of endgame concepts. I mean, I've already talked about it above. You're distributing the endgame concepts a little bit too early, and there are a few reasons why you might do so. Number 1, you suspect that the game is dying and you want to throw out content so that you keep people engaged, you keep people excited. Or number 2, there is just a lot more power creep along the way. There's going to be a lot more reasons for you to pull the banner Espers because they are super overpowered, that you need them for specific difficult content in the future. It's just these few reasons, right? And then now moving on to the third point, nerfing and releasing overpowered Espers. Okay, so this is kind of like a gripe that I have, okay, just a personal gripe. So it started with the timely Ahmed. So if you're new and you did not actually realize, but Ahmed was released at a time where the Temporal Tower was extremely difficult to clear unless you had certain select Espers in your roster. So for me, even with like at that point of time, I think it was like 4 months worth of grind, my relics were almost maxed out at that point of time, but I was still not able to accomplish Temporal Tower level 40 at that point of time. And that's because of the way that the Temporal Tower was designed. And then they released Ahmed immediately, and he was the cheat code that was needed to clear Temporal Tower level 40 instantly. So that didn't sit well with me at all. Now next one, nerfing existing Espers, like for example Clara recently and Lucas as well, while releasing broken new Espers to induce excitement and spending. So for example, Ahmed, he was a pretty big hype back then, Jiang Jiuli as well. And now Gaius, who is extremely broken. Okay, Gaius is probably as hard to get as a Jiang Jiuli given the current 1600 PT. I think so. Actually, you know what? I'm probably wrong. But he's still incredibly hard to get. And the thing is, he's very broken as well. So I don't really like to see this because it is extremely cash grabby for you to release an Esper that is like so strong, so powerful, and you make people want to pull for the Esper only for you to eventually nerf him somewhere down the road, like maybe 3 or 4 months down the road. And the people who had spent thousands of dollars will never see their money come back because now your Esper is just being nerfed to the ground, basically. Well, that's not really the case for Clara. I don't think she was nerfed to the ground at all. I don't even think her nerf was really that bad in terms of PvE, but in terms of PvP, that definitely affected her. Now, moving on to point 4, content loop needs work. So this is not something new. A lot of people quit the game because it's basically a ritual miracle simulator, right? You are just grinding ritual miracles every single day, and if it's not ritual miracles, you're doing Dislyte Lands, and if it's not Dislyte Lands, you're leveling up your Espers. So all of the content right now, aside from PvP and Temporal Tower, is almost 100% auto, which is very boring to some people. I like it a lot because I have a full-time work and I need something to run at the side. So it works for me, but it doesn't work for everyone, okay? So here are some things that I would definitely gladly have in the game. So number one, co-op events. Why do you not have co-op events? You have real-time arena, so why can't you have co-op events? And what about raid bosses, right? Like letting many people participate in a single fight, and that could really introduce a lot of excitement into the game. And I know it's really hard for you to design something and just code it into the game right now, but honestly, you had much more than a year to get this settled. Okay, even before beta, you had alpha, and before alpha, you had your own closed alpha period. So you had a lot of time to design a game that will be entertaining. And what about club content? Okay, there is definitely room for club content. We have so many people in our club, and all we are doing is just holo battle. That shouldn't be the case, right? Well, at least that's just my opinion. But I have a fourth point to kind of like raise Dislyte up a little bit. So the game is slowly shaping up. So like the upcoming event has like this exploration mode, which I think is a very interesting idea, and it's a good thing because it shows that the game has the engine to produce something like that. But like I said, a lot of these could have been explored in beta. Like for example, raids, club content, co-op events, these could have been explored in beta. Honestly, during beta was a time that nothing happened at all. Almost nothing changed in beta. It was so boring during that period of time where there was like no content at all, and the updates were so bland. But it's just ever since global release that the game was like, wow, so many new content and more new content and more new content. But I should correct myself, it's not that there is a lot of new content, it's just they're pushing for the end game a little bit sooner. Now finally, the fifth point, bugs, and more bugs. So I'm not going to bother reading all of this, you can go ahead and read it if you want to. I just want to point out that there are a lot of bugs, and this is not everything in the game as well. There is so many bugs, but there is one that I want to point out, which is Astral Witchcraft reduces cooldowns. This was like the most basic promise that you made to your players, and you failed on it terribly. So these are all the points that I have, and there is definitely more. I just cannot think of it right now, and I'm sure my comments will definitely raise up a lot of the points that I would have wanted to put into this list as well. But yeah, in conclusion, this is not a way for me to get at the game. This is not a jab at you at all. This is me trying to figure out how to improve the game and how to be more honest with your players and to make the best decisions in order to maintain your player base. Okay, this is not a good thing. This is a terrible thing. You had so many opportunities the past 4 months to make the game better by probably listening a little bit more to what your players had to say. But I think it's just very unfortunate that the game has become what it is right now and is basically just being carried by the whales. But obviously, I'm just nitpicking right now. I'm just pointing out all the flaws. There are a lot of good in the game as well. There is a lot of good, okay? But I do not want to cover that in this video to downplay all the bad that the game has right now. I think a lot of this really needs to be addressed. And today is a Thursday. You have 5 more days before you release the new update. And chances are you're not going to change anything. Chances are it is still going to be the way it is right now. I really hope not. But if it does, what's going to happen is all your players are going to use all their gold records on Tuesday. And they're not going to get Gaius, and they're just going to delete the game and jump to some other shitty B-rated gacha game. But that says a lot more about their priorities and their opinions of Dislyte. So yeah, that's it for this video. I'm sorry that this was so negative, but there is a Chinese saying that 打是疼，骂是爱, which means that the more you hit someone, the more you are actually loving that person and showing them concern and helping them to grow as a person, basically. So yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now with that said, this has been Daddy Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.